Okay, so firstly, this is not going to be the fairest comparison because I'm comparing just about the most expensive pen you could get, which is the Demeyere Proline 7 from the Atlantis series, to an entry-level Frypan, stainless Frypan from IKEA. Okay, so having said that, this is not going to be a fair comparison. I just want to say one thing for the IKEA pen, about the IKEA pen, and that is, this is a very good pen for the price that they charge. I mean, that's my personal experience anyway. For the last 2 years, I've been using this on a quite a regular basis. It's taken a lot of use and abuse, and it's still very, very solid. I can easily see this thing going for another 5 years, if not more. So overall, if we're talking about the value proposition, this is a very good IKEA pen. I mean, it's just a very good pen for the price. And I think these IKEA Sensuell, so Sensuell is the product name, these Sensuell Frypans, out of all the IKEA cookware range, I think this is the best value for money that you could buy from the IKEA range. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. This is a good pen for the price that they charge. So why am I doing this comparison anyway if I said it's unfair? Well, I thought it's interesting to point out the differences, so you could see, what you are getting for that extra, the extra amount of money you pay for this Demeyere pen. So let's talk about pricing. The IKEA pen is 50 euros, okay, and that may change a little bit depending on which part of the world they are in. This here in Europe is 50 euros. This Demeyere pen is around 200 euros. Official retail is about 270 to 69, but most stores will sell this at around 200. I got it at a very good deal for 175. I'm pretty happy with that. But most stores will have this 200, 220, 205 or something like that. So you're basically paying 4 times the price for this Demeyere pen compared to the IKEA pen. And by the way, they are both 32 centimeters in size. So the first thing I want to point out is, well, let's talk about size. They are both 32 centimeters, but there is quite a big difference between what they call a 32 centimeter pen. You could see on the camera that this Demeyere pen is, well, it looks much bigger than the IKEA pen, and it actually is. With the Demeyere, when they measure the 32 centimeters, I guess they measured, they did measure from the inside edge to the inside edge. Okay, so they are not counting the thickness of the pen, which I will talk about in a sec. It's the inside to the inside, whereas the IKEA pen is more from the outside edge to the outside edge. So if we look at the cooking surface on the bottom, the flat usable cooking surface, you do get about 1 to 1.5 centimeters more on the IKEA, on the Demeyere pen, okay, on the Demeyere pen. And in fact, the day that I received this in the post, I took it out of the box and I almost regretted it. Wow, I thought this thing was humongous, and it is humongous. It's just so big. So that's and that may be a disadvantage for some people because this is a really, really big pen for a 32 centimeter pen. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is the weight and the thickness. So let's talk about weight first. The IKEA pen weighs a moderate 2.1 kilograms. Okay? And that's not really moderate because it is actually a bit heavier, maybe even compared to an all-clad of the same size. So again, that's why I'm pretty impressed with this IKEA pen. They packed a lot of solid metal into this pen. For a standard 3-ply pen. So this is a 3-ply pen, okay, so stainless, aluminum, stainless, standard 3-ply construction. And 2.1 kilograms is the weight. This Demeyere pen weighs a hefty 2.74 kilograms. And that weight difference, when you pick the pens up, is quite substantial. Okay, it's you can definitely feel it. Again, for some people, if you really don't want a heavy pen, that could be a drawback, it could be a disadvantage, but for me, I like my pens as heavy and as thick as possible. So for me, it's worth it. Okay, and for me, I definitely like the heavy weight and the thickness of this Demeyere pen. So now let's talk about thickness. This is also interesting because this Demeyere, is the thickest pan that you could buy. I think it's the thickest, I'm pretty sure it is. And this thing is unbelievably thick. I mean, it's like Demeyere just said to the customer, "Hey, Mr. Customer, would you like a big hunk of metal with your purchase?" You know, and my answer to the question would be yes. It's extremely heavy and it's extremely thick. I mean, the thickness is just ridiculous. It's there's no other way to describe it. It's very, very substantial. You know, if we talk about numbers, it's about 5.5 or 5 millimeters thick. You know, I've never seen a pen this thick in my life. This is the first time. But I do really appreciate it and I like it. You know, it's because, you know, when you combine the thickness and the weight, in terms of cooking and heat retention, it basically behaves like a cast iron. I mean, this thing is only a little bit lighter than a cast iron pan I have of the same size. So I'm actually finding myself using the stainless, using this one more and more, and using my cast iron less and less. You know, this is, I don't think there's another pan on the market of the same size. Whether it's 32, 28, or 24, they have different sizes for these pans that are so freakishly thick. I mean, this thing is, this thing is built like a tank. I mean, that's how I would describe it. And whereas the IKEA pan is, well, quite a standard thickness for a 3-ply pan. I don't know what the thicknesses of the other, you know, All-Clad or whatever other brand are, but this is very comparable to any other 3-ply pan. Okay. So next, number of layers. Again, I mentioned 3-ply standard. This thing has 7-ply, so that's what, 3 layers of aluminum squeezed between stainless steel. Personally, I don't care how many layers it's got. Okay, that's not important to me, and I don't think that should be important for a lot of people. You know, 5 layers, 7 layers. You know, it may sound fancy. It may sound fancier than 3 layers. But for me, at the end of the day, what matters is the weight, is how weighty the pen is how much heat it's able to retain. That's more important to me than the number of layers. Okay, so I couldn't care less about how many layers it's got. What I do like about this Demeyere pen is just the solid weight and the thickness. Okay, so that's the physical attributes, or those are the physical attributes of the pen. There's very little I dislike about both of these pens actually. You know, again, very impressed with the IKEA pen considering the price point. Even more impressed with the Demeyere pen just because of, you know, how much thickness and weight you get. The one thing that I dislike about both pens is the handle. On the IKEA pen, this handle gives me a steadier grip actually than the Demeyere pen. But what I don't like about this handle is that it has this rubber bottom half underneath the metal, and yes, it does add more grip, and that could be why IKEA or whoever designed this pen decided to put it there. But I would have preferred just a solid piece of stainless handle, because I think on this pen, if anything was to break, it would be this part here, or maybe it will come loose from the handle. But having said that, I mean, after 2 years, that hasn't happened. It's still as tight as ever, so it may never happen. So yeah, that's the one little thing that I dislike about it. You know, just me being a bit nitpicky. Another thing you may find slightly annoying is that it doesn't have a hole, so you cannot hang the pen. That's not a problem for me. I don't hang my pens. I don't have anywhere to do that, but that may be a slight annoyance for some people. The Demeyere pen, the handle is a beautifully designed handle. I mean, I like that solid stainless construction. I like this Y shape. I think it makes the handle look very sleek. You know, it's somewhat aerodynamic. Well, that's how it looks to me anyway. Yeah, this handle is a bit too, if I have to put it this way, it's a little bit slippery for me. And this shiny polished stainless handle, a bit slippery. I've got longish fingers, so yeah, it doesn't offer me the most secure grip, you know, when I flip the pen. In fact, when I go more than vertical like this, I find myself using the helper handle, just also because it's so heavy. There's a thumb rest here, you know, obviously meant for your thumb, but I find that if I use it, then I actually have less grip on the handle, because then my finger is not wrapping around the handle as much, so I don't really put my thumb there. That's just one little thing. The handle, it would have been brilliant if it was just a little bit wider. You know, the thickness is okay. If it was a little bit wider, then I can get a more secure grip like that. One little thing that I do like about the Demeyere pens, it's quite unique to Demeyere, is that the handles, both handles are welded, so you don't have this rivet tab or a rivet spot there. You know, sometimes it's a little bit hard to clean around it. You don't have the problem here. So that's all there is to say about the physical construction or the physical attributes of the pens. Next, we're going to have a look at the temperature distribution on both an electric and a gas stove. What I did was that I put these pens on a stove. I measured with a bit of oil in the pan, heated the pan up. I measured the temperature right at the center, along this inner ring, if you can call it, here, so halfway between the center and the edge, and also at the edge. So I compared the performance or the temperature distribution of both pens. And so yeah, let's go have a look at that now. So we'll jump over to the computer, and again, that's something that I hope you also find helpful in your decision. All right, welcome back. So we're going to look at two tests. One is with the electric hob and the other with the gas hob. So how did the IKEA and the Proline pen perform on the electric hob? This is the summary. And the conclusion is that there is no conclusion. I was not able to get a definitive result on which pen is better from an electric hob. And the trouble you may have with the electric hob is that the diameter of the Proline, the bottom surface, is so big. I think you will struggle to find an electric hob that matches or is about the same size as the bottom diameter of the Proline. And on that subject, you know, I think my personal opinion is that, you know, it doesn't matter how expensive or how fancy an electric or induction stove is, it's never ever going to match a gas stove in terms of the even heat distribution, and you can see that here. You know, if anything, the IKEA pen is actually a little bit better here, because I guess it doesn't have the heavy mass, that many layers. So the temperature distribution happens a little bit faster. So first, let's look at the table with the numbers. What you can see here, basically, let's just try to summarize it very quickly, is that the IKEA pen heats up approximately 1 minute faster than the Proline at the center, at the inner circle, and on the edge. So if I look at any of these rows, you see that there is about a 60-second lag between, that you can see on the Proline compared to the IKEA pen. So let's say, for example, at 360 seconds, the center of the Proline pen is 225 degrees Celsius, whereas that has already happened. You know, the IKEA pen in the center has already reached that temperature at about 300 seconds. So there is around a 1 minute lag with the Proline. And if we look at the graph, so the blue is the IKEA, the orange is the Proline. It gets a little bit messy, so I just made them, you know, into the same color. You know, for intensive purposes, it doesn't really matter which is the center, which is the edge, which is the inner ring. It's pretty obvious that the top is the center is the hottest. This is the inner ring, and this is the outer edge for the IKEA pen, and the orange is for the Proline. And you could see that the Proline definitely heats up slower than the IKEA, and that's obviously due to the heavier weight, the more thermal mass, and the more number of layers. Okay, and an important difference here is that in terms of the even heat distribution, what is the difference between the edge and the center? And you can actually see that the IKEA pan is actually outperforming the Proline by just a very slight margin. So the temperature difference right on the edge and the center is approximately average 44 degrees on the IKEA pan and 49 degrees on the Proline. So based on this result on the electric hob, I cannot say that the Proline is definitely performing better than the IKEA. Or very high-end, heavy, multi-layer pan is performing better than the entry-level stainless pan. Okay, and it's a shame, really, but I was kind of expecting that result. Again, like I said, an electric hob will never be as good as a gas hob in creating that even heat distribution. So don't expect miracles here. More money is not going to get you a better result here on the electric hob. And by the way, I use the biggest hob I have on my electric stove. I've got 4 on my electric stove. I've used the biggest, and even then, you get this quite a big temperature difference from the center to the edge. Okay, let's have a look at that. See, the differential edge to center with the IKEA maxes out at about 50 degrees. And on the Proline, it reached a maximum of 70 degrees Celsius between the edge and the center. And again, I think that's because of the heavier weight and the slightly bigger diameter. So conclusion, and the conclusion is, well, it's inconclusive. I can't say that one is definitely better or worse than the other. Okay, so let's move over to the gas hob. All right. This is where I definitely see the advantage with a more expensive Proline pan, and that's also where I see the advantage of a gas top or gas stove in general. As you can see with both pans, if I look at the center and the inner ring, between the center and the edge, there is almost no temperature difference. And I was really excited to see that with the gas hob, and that just proves the point that a gas hob is always going to give you better temperature distribution than an electric hob or induction. And you can even use a cheap gas hob, but I really don't think it makes a difference. Just look at how even the temperature is for the inner part of the pan. There's no difference here, almost no difference here. And here there is a little bit more difference, and you can actually see with the Proline, the inner ring at times is even hotter than the center. And I think in most cases, by looking at these numbers, it's hotter at a higher temperature than the center, which is okay, which is no problem. And where the Proline really shines, where the Proline is, that multi-layer construction really helps, is the temperature difference between the edge and the center. So right on the outside edge and the center. So with a Proline, you only get about a 16 degrees Celsius difference. That is incredible compared to the electric hob. That's many times lower than the electric hob. So basically, you have the whole bottom of the pan at a very even temperature. You get some spots that are hotter, you get some spots that are colder, but overall you don't get this very visible temperature gradient across the diameter of the pan. And the IKEA, it's not too bad either. You can see it's 10 degrees more than the Proline. Can you live with that 10 degrees? I think the answer is yes for most people. But I wouldn't mind if the center of my pan was 25, 26 degrees warmer than the outside edge, especially considering that it's a 32 diameter pan. It's not a small pan. So I'm quite impressed with both of these pans in terms of the distribution on the gas hob. But I can conclude here that the Proline is a little bit better. Is it worth 4 times the price? Well, let's talk about that in a sec a little bit. And you can see on the graph, the orange is the IKEA, the blue is the Proline. You almost cannot see a difference between the between the center and the inner ring, and that's the same as the Proline. In fact, here, as you can also see on the table, the inner ring is actually at times a little bit warmer, and the temperature difference on the edge compared to the center, again, as per the table, this is just a graph of the table, is smaller. And also, once again, you can see that there is about a 1 minute lag for comparing the IKEA and the Proline. So, in other words, the Proline heats up approximately 1 minute slower than the IKEA in terms of the time it takes to reach that temperature. And that could be an advantage to many people. It gives you more time with temperature changes. It gives you better control with temperature changes and better control with your cooking. So, let's do a quick summary here. So, based on everything that I talked about, the physical differences, the physical benefits, the more layers, the heavier weight, the thicker pan, the more even temperature distribution on the gas hob. Is it worth spending 4 times the price? I don't know. It's a hard one. This is a hard one. If you sorry, my throat is playing up a little bit. If you really don't want a heavy pan, then I would be very happy with the IKEA pan. It's for 50 euros, again, like I said, it's incredible value for money. That it's a very solid, long-lasting pan, and I think it's the best pan that IKEA has out of their whole cookware range. But for me, it's worth it. It's not worth it by a huge margin. It's not that it's not so black and white. I like the heavier weight. I like the thickness. I like the more increased thermal mass with the Demeyere. And of course, it feels good to have a more premium brand. So I would pay it. Again, I got it at a pretty good price at 170 euros. So not 4 times the price. You got to decide if the differences are worth it to you. For me, it's slightly worth it. It's not by a country mile. It's I was happy with my purchase, and I think, in my opinion, the overall answer is yes. It's but it's not a very strong yes. I hope you found that video helpful. Sorry if I made it too long, but I hope it's comprehensive. It has the information that you were looking for. And I'll catch you in the next video. Any comments, please let me know down below.